Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Lauren.
And my name is Asenta.
And Asenta and I are trained smoking cessation facilitators and members of the Community Health Improvement Department here at the University of Maryland Medical Center. And this is our 6th Facebook Live session.
Our last one.
I know. Well, it's our last one for smoking cessation,
Yes.
and we do this in partnership with the Baltimore City Health Department. And so for the past 5 months, it's interesting saying because in the first time we said next 5 months, but no, for the past 5 months, we have provided monthly Facebook sessions to talk to you and encourage you on your journey to quit smoking. And so each month, we presented topics to discuss just to give you more information about the product that you're putting in your body. And so hopefully, you know, that's something that you've been able to learn and take stuff from. And so we're going to go ahead today and
today we're going to revisit those topics that we discussed in the past few months just to go back over them and give you a better understanding if you might have missed something, if you didn't want to go back and watch the past videos. We're just going to briefly talk about it. And we also have a couple of special guests with us today who are they're basically here to encourage you by sharing their journey towards becoming a quitter and their life and their reasons for why they started smoking and why they quit. So thank you for joining us today, ladies.
Absolutely.
Thank you. But however, as we go through the session, please join us by adding your questions, comments, and your zip code into the comment section below. If you have a question or a comment and we don't answer it during the live session, we will get back to it after it has ended. Also, please add your zip code so that we can know what's part of the city, country, and even state that we're reaching to know who's viewing us today. Please let your friends and family also know that we have these sessions here on Facebook, and they are still here afterwards so that they can join us next month, even for different topics. Or you can go back for our past months and learn more about smoking cessation. Please also let us know if you have any special topics that you would like for us to discuss in the future.
Yeah, so like we said, and we do like repeating ourselves just to make sure that you get everything on board. This is our last smoking cessation Facebook Live. However, we will be back monthly to talk about different topics depending on what's going on that month, whether it be a special month like, say, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We will be here to discuss several different health topics because that's what we're here for, the Community Health Improvement Department. And so we hope that in the past 6 months and today that you're going to learn something or take something from what we've discussed, and hopefully it'll kickstart your journey to quit. You know, if you fell off and you've relapsed already, that, you know, you'll decide to jump back in there and become a quitter. And I think at this point we're just going to go ahead and start talking about what we've talked about in the past, and just to kind of give you an idea. Also, if this is your first time joining us, welcome, and if not, and you haven't had a chance to go back and look through the past ones, you're going to get the information today. So in January, we talked about New Year's resolutions and lifestyle changes, and basically what that is, a lot of times, I never say all because I know there's somebody out there who like sticks to it, they're adamant, but not all of us are, you know, that disciplined. So a lot of times we do New Year's resolutions and we fall off the wagon, and so we discussed about making a lifestyle change, actually taking something that's not necessarily good for your health, and because we're talking about smoking cessation, that's what we're focusing on, and actually taking steps to do something about it to make it a permanent change. And with that, we went through the stages of change, which were pre-contemplation. Then there's contemplation, where you're actually deciding, you know, this is probably the best thing for me. I definitely need to quit. And then there's preparation and determination, figuring out what you need, what tools will help you on your journey to quit. Taking the action, being adamant about it every day, and then maintaining. And then lastly, which is kind of a part of maintenance, which is the relapse, because it's unrealistic to say for a lot of people. There are some people out there that can do it cold turkey, and we will talk to you about that later because we do have a few guests here who are master quitters, and they were able to do it cold turkey, but it's not that simple for everyone. And so understanding that relapse is something that you may encounter is part of the process.
Yes, and understand that quitting takes an average of 4 to 5, even more times before you can actually become a successful quitter. So don't worry if you quit, relapse, quit, relapse, quit, relapse. It's an ongoing process, but remember, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So also in January, we talked about quitting for a cause, and we said that it would be wonderful if you had a reason for why you quit smoking, because the reason would actually help you push forward when you're going through the withdrawal or a relapse opportunity. So some of the reasons we came up with was maybe for a loved one, a family member, a friend, maybe a new relationship, and the partner doesn't like the stench of the cigarette smell. And
or they have asthma, whatever it may be.
they have asthma. Your health. That's number one, is your health. You want to be around, you want to be as healthy as possible. And we talked about the health effects surrounding cigarette smoking. So we also talked about becoming a successful quitter and knowing the tolls and the tribulations that came along with quitting.
Yes, understanding the process and the grueling process sometimes that it takes to quit helps you in your process, because if you're not aware of that before you start, once you hit that roadblock in the process of quitting, you might decide to quit. If you know ahead of time, you'll understand this is just part of the process. And so, February, moving along, we talked about diseases caused by smoking, secondhand smoke, and the contents of a cigarette. Now, this is one of the harder topics, but it's one of our favorites because it's kind of...
It's eye-opening.
It's really eye-opening to understand and see what's actually in the cigarette. But before we get there, let's talk just a little bit about some of the diseases we discussed.
So the diseases we went over were it harms nearly every organ of your body.
That's right.
Not only just the lungs, but mainly every organ. It can cause cancer in the lungs and the throat. It triggers asthma if you have asthma, and can make you develop bronchitis or asthma. Berger's disease, we learned that was associated with smoking cigarettes, and that's when you have swelling in the limbs, pain in the hands and feet. And I know we also discussed that could just be a normal thing that a person just wakes up one morning and they associate with stress,
whatever
and,
the life,
water gain or weight, and you never know that it might just have something to do with smoking cigarettes and nicotine.
Yes.
We also said that it affects heart disease, or causes heart disease, and decreased fertility if you're trying to get pregnant.
Absolutely, and that tends to be an issue for a lot of women. So if you're a smoker out there and you're trying to get pregnant, please keep in mind that there are a lot of things adding to your inability. So that's something that you, again, want to keep in mind.
Yep.
Another thing we talked about was the secondhand smoke, and we all know about that and how dangerous it can be. There are two different types of secondhand smoke. There's mainstream and side stream.
Yes.
Mainstream smoke is the smoke that comes from the smoker's mouth once it is actually inhaled. So if I were to, or someone were to inhale the cigarette and then blow the smoke from their mouth, that is the mainstream. Side stream smoke, however, though they are both very dangerous, side stream is a bit more dangerous because this is the smoke that's coming from the lit end of the cigarette, and this contains all of the same chemicals that the smoker is inhaling from the cigarette itself. So though you say, oh, well, I don't smoke, it's not me. If you're inhaling secondhand smoke, which you could be doing it even when you're not actually aware of it, you are putting the same harmful chemicals in your body. And then we also talked about third-hand smoke, which a lot of people didn't know about.
Right.
Which was, exactly. So the third-hand smoke is the smoke, the smell, the stench of the cigarette smoke that's left on the clothing, the furniture, whatever it may be in the room, on the walls even, in the carpet. And I know the example we used and when we talked about it back in February was, family came over during the holiday season. It was too cold to send Grandpop outside to smoke his cigarette or cigar, so you let him smoke in the den. And the kids went upstairs so they didn't have to inhale the secondhand smoke. Well, here's the thing. When Pop leaves and it's February and the kids are watching their favorite cartoon in the den, if your child is laying on the couch, the family pet is laying on the couch, they can inhale those particles that are currently stored in the couch, in the furniture, in the family throw, whatever you keep on the couch, whatever it may be, that can be reabsorbed into the air and it can be inhaled. And again, you can still get sick from third-hand smoke. So
Yeah, definitely. Hugging someone who is a smoker. So if you go in to hug a person who's not even smoking, but you smell it in their hair
On their
or on their
skin,
clothes,
yeah.
and you start coughing, and that's third-hand smoke. That's third-hand smoke. So definitely.
And then contents.
Our favorite one, contents of a cigarette. So let's go through the list that we mentioned back in February, and that was acetone.
Acetone. So acetone is the main ingredient. Actually, realistically, it can be the only ingredient in nail polish remover. So ladies, to get those hard nails off, the gel nail polish and acrylic manicures we like to get, it can break through that, and you're putting that into your body. So that's one awful product that's found in a cigarette.
Yep. What about arsenic? It's
arsenic.
Rat poison.
Rat poisoning. So it's used literally to kill a rat or a mouse. And so that's something that we're putting in our bodies. And of course, all of this stuff we're going to talk about would be stuff that you would find in your pantry, in your cabinet, wherever you keep your household items. And on those household items, they have the warning labels. If ingested or taken in, call the doctor, call poison control. None of these warnings are on the back of your cigarettes. None. So just keep that in mind. The next one we have is butane.
It's lighter fluid.
Lighter fluid. And this is what's used to keep the cigarette
lit.
Yeah.
So the same thing that you're lighting the cigarette with, you have to have in the cigarette so that it can cause a reaction to keep it lit, so that you can get the
continue to smoke it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the next one is cadmium, and that's battery acid. So if you ever seen a battery explode, maybe in the back of a remote or in a toy car or something like that,
White crusty film.
it's a lot of white crusty, and sometimes look foamy, and it's not good. It's not a good smell or a good thing to play with or have.
Again, so none of this you would ever voluntarily put into your body by itself. And most importantly, the one coming up next, we know you would never voluntarily put into your body, which is carbon monoxide.
Yes.
So exhaust fumes. We have monitors in the house to protect us from carbon monoxide. If you have a house with a garage, you know before you start your car to warm it up in the winter season, you must open the garage in order to prevent yourself from getting carbon monoxide poisoning. If you're ever driving on the road and there's a big truck in front of you and they pull off at the light and all that exhaust fume gets in your car, it smells awful. Well, all of this stuff, again, is going into your body with a cigarette.
Wow.
Yep. And next one is nicotine, and that's the small amount of nicotine that's in the cigarette. It's really addictive, and it's the addictive agent that keeps you coming back for that hit, and you want more, and you want more, and you want more, and that's definitely what's the part that keeps you coming, and it can cause nicotine poison if you overdo it and have too much of it. And we don't hear a lot about nicotine poisoning because it has similar symptoms of a common virus or stomach problem. So, but yeah.
And then we have what? Ammonia.
Ammonia.
So you're cleaning the house, you're mopping the floors, you're scrubbing the tub. Then you take a sip of ammonia. Absolutely not. You would never do that, okay?
We hope not.
Absolutely not. So you shouldn't do it with the contents of a cigarette. But all of this stuff, again, is found in the cigarette. You know not to do it by itself regularly. And then we have methanol, which is, get this, rocket fuel. So you've got rocket fuel in your cigarette. Again, something else. You wouldn't even have access to rocket fuel, to put it into your body. And then lastly, but most importantly,
it's tar.
Tar.
What we pave our streets with.
Absolutely.
It builds up in our lungs, and if you ever seen a model of fake lungs, or you see someone demonstrating the effect of smoke on a person's lung, it'll coat it in black, just like how the streets look.
Yeah.
And that, it just, over time, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up, and if you cough a lot from cigarette smoking and comes up with a lot of phlegm, then you'll see the tar and little black spots in the phlegm too.
Yeah. And so that's important. That black coating over the lungs when you see a healthy lung versus a not so healthy lung is the tar that's built up in your lungs. And so that's what we talked about in February. And as you can see, it's eye-opening for sure. And then we moved on in March to smoking alternatives. You know, things that there are a lot of times, and we will talk when we talk to our special guests we have here with us today, you know, a lot of times it was just a traditional cigarette, but with technology and everything advancing these years, we have all these different ways to ingest tobacco and nicotine products.
You're right.
So
hookah. I think that was hookah, vaping, e-cigarettes. Those are all mainly the newer type of models of smoking and how to get that hit of nicotine. Lauren, I think you handled hookah.
I did handle hookah as a former hookah smoker. It's something that, you know, you think you go out with your friends. It's really popular these days, which, again, we talked about as one of the main reasons people start smoking in the first place. But hookah is actually 100 times worse than smoking just one traditional cigarette. And so if you were to sit down, you take about 20 puffs of one cigarette, and then you take about 200 puffs in one sitting session of smoking hookah. And one session of hookah is the equivalent or equal to about, what did we say, 152 20-ounce bottles. So that's how much smoke you're taking into your system. And then we have e-cigarettes, which aren't regulated, are they?
They're not regulated, and you still, the only thing that doesn't happen with the e-cigarette is the secondhand smoke. But everything else that we say about a traditional cigarette, it happens when it comes to an e-cigarette.
Yes.
So there's no difference.
And then for Baltimore City, which is who we're talking to, for sure we want to make sure we reach you guys on what we know is something that's popular here, which is cigars and Black and Milds.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so the cigar is actually 2 to 3 times worse than a traditional cigarette. Why? Because of its contents and its makeup. So a cigar is a tobacco wrapped in tobacco leaves.
Yes, so double the dose of the tobacco.
It's double the dose, and then sometimes other things can get added into the Black and Milder cigarette, which would increase the amount of different types of smoking agents that you're taking in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot out there that's not good for you that is marketed, however, to be good for you. Flavoring, all of the bright colors on the packaging, and so it's just something we talked about. We wanted to make sure that you're aware of how the smoking companies are trying to get to you in several different ways.
Yes. So in April, we discussed the myths around smoking and addiction. And as we went through those sessions, we just basically talked about a couple of common myths that we usually hear and some not so common. And I think the first one that we did was basically, if I take one cigarette, I'm not really doing any harm to my body. I'm not really causing any bad things to happen. But in honesty, that's not true. And one cigarette can cause just as much harm as a cigarette that you're smoking over time. And if you quit smoking, a cigarette begins to heal your body within 20 minutes to 2 days to 12 weeks to a year. You'll start to see all the benefits of quitting. And I think that's what one common myth we always heard in the community was that, one little cigarette won't hurt.
Yes.
But in reality, it can hurt.
And I'm glad you mentioned the 20 minutes, because another myth is a lot of people say, and they're trying to quit, or they say, I have to have my cigarette, it calms me down, it relieves the stress, and it's true in a sense that when you take that cigarette, it will calm you down, it will relieve the stress. However, the only reason you're having the stress and you're not so calm is because 20 minutes after that last cigarette you had, your body is trying to go through withdrawal. Your body is starting to heal itself. And part of withdrawal is the stress, the anxiety, all of the symptoms that you think can be healed by the cigarette are actually caused by the cigarette. So in your mind, yes, it does relieve the stress because it's giving the body the fix that it needs, rather than you saying, okay, this is just part of the withdrawal process and I need to get past this moment to continue my journey in quitting smoking.
And it's okay. It's okay if you have those negative thoughts or those thoughts that just trying to pull you back in. It's okay. That's natural and that's normal. Remember in February or January we mentioned having a quit buddy, having that partner to be by your side. I think I acted as Lauren's quit buddy.
She was indeed.
I'm always here to become anyone's quit buddy if you need it. It's just that quit buddy will be there to help you talk through you and learn with you and go through the pain with you just as much as if they were experiencing it and you were the buddy.
Exactly.
So remember, there's always a give and take when you have that quit buddy with you.
Absolutely. And then in May, we talked about if you can't deal with withdrawal symptoms as heavy as they are, if you were to try and do it cold turkey with no assistance, we talked about nicotine replacement therapies and other ways in which you could get help in your journey to quit. And so some of the nicotine replacement therapies we talked about were the patches, which you can take and you affix to your skin. There's the gum, the lozenges, the inhalers, and the nasal sprays. And some of the ones we focused on were the patch, the gum, and the lozenges. And I'm actually glad that we did talk about those because since then I actually did speak with someone who is indeed a quitter, and she did use one of the nicotine replacement therapy options.
Yay.
And so what she used was the pills. And so, again, before you do any of these pill options like Wellbutrin, or I apologize, my brain stopped for a minute.
Wellbutrin. It's a lot of information.
Absolutely. So Wellbutrin or Chantix, you have to speak with your doctor first. So this smoker, this quitter that I spoke to, she said she was smoking for 35 years. She started just like, a lot of people do because, everybody else was doing it. It was popular at the time. And she decided to just do it, and she got herself hooked with the nicotine. And then one day after 35 years, she just decided, you know what, I have to quit. This is not good for me. She went to her doctor. She started Wellbutrin. And, with the pills you are taking, you can indeed use smoke your cigarettes to
Yes.
kind of wean you off. And she said within a week, she was done. She was putting out the butt, and she said it was disgusting. I believe her words were, it tasted horrid. And so she was so successful with Wellbutrin. Her husband tried it as well, and 2 weeks later, he had quit. And so, exactly. And so, there's her buddy right there.
Yes,
husband and wife, yep. And so, what I'm saying is that though they may have side effects, and she did say that, she said she was scared to do it because there were side effects involved, but she decided that the process of quitting outweighed, and the benefits of quitting outweighed the side effects, and she quit just like that. Now, it may not be that simple for everyone, but just start.
Yes,
that's what we want you to do.
Shout out to you. Shout out to you and your husband for quitting.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful story, and thank you for allowing us to share it today. Also, in May, we talked about the resources that we have throughout Baltimore City to help a person if they want to get a traditional class, they want to do over-the-phone counseling, or they feel as though they need just help, some type of help. We mentioned that you guys can contact us at any time. I'm sorry, I have a allergy reaction going on. But you guys can contact us here at the Medical Center, and we can be your quit buddy. We can work with you. We have classes here that are about to begin as early as July, and we'll mention those at the end.
Yeah.
But you can also go to www.umm.edu/kickthehabit, and you'll see our Kick the Habit for Life book on there with all of our resources listed for the entire Baltimore City and different surrounding counties in Maryland to get information for the classes, phone numbers, dates, and everything.
Absolutely. And you'll also find our previous Facebook Live sessions on our website as well. So definitely take a look at that. But also, as you mentioned, the classes, our effort today is to try and spread as many success stories as we can to get you on your journey to quit. There is another story that I had, and people, once they see us, they just want to tell their story, which is good because they know the benefits of quitting smoking. So they want to make sure that everybody else out there knows it. And there was a woman who's smoked for 35 plus years. She combined using Chantix, the tablet, again, speak with your doctor before, you have to speak with your doctor because it's a prescribed medication, but also to make sure it's the best one for you. She used Chantix as well as classes, smoking cessation classes, to help her to quit. And not only did she quit, and she's quit for about 8 years now, but she's rewarded herself. That first year, she took the money, all of the money she would have spent on cigarettes and nicotine products, and she took herself to a Broadway show and her family every year. And so every year she's been doing that to remind herself that I quit for a cause, I quit for a reason, and this is absolutely a good option for me.
That's wonderful. Shout out to you, too, as well, and shout out to you. You're making it into something fun and positive afterwards, and building on it.
Absolutely.
And encouraging your family and friends to build on it with you. All right, so today I think we're getting into the best part now of our show today. It's like we recapped everything that we talked about from January to May. And I hope you guys can, like Lauren said, go back to that umm.edu/kickthehabit website if you want to see these past sessions. This one will be uploaded as well, so the whole series will be on there.
Absolutely.
You can always visit us back on Facebook and search through our videos to see to go back and go through our smoking cessation live classes again. We would always be happy to see you. But today we want to take our focus on our lovely, lovely ladies that we have here who are quitters.
Absolutely.
Yes. And in this sense, being a quitter is a wonderful thing today. So we have 3 ladies here who are going to share their journey through their smoking their smoking, quitting, and why they started, and what their motivation was. So thank you for joining us today, ladies.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And so before we get started, we're just going to introduce the lovely ladies we have here. We have Miss Griselda Fun, who is joining us today. She's going to give us her story and her process she went through. We have Miss Margie Ford, who is also here to talk about her process and her journey. And then we have Miss Flora, I'm telling you, my brain is killing me today. Deborah Young. She is here as well today to talk to us about her story. So let's just get right into it, ladies. And also feel free to chime in whenever you think, your portion of your story might be beneficial, or, you find out that parts of your story are similar to someone else's. And so one thing we want to talk about first is, why did you start smoking in the first place? What was it?
Following my friends. Everybody else was doing it, so We did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Young and dumb.
Young and dumb. Is that so? That's what it is.
A combination of
Young
both.
and dumb,
Following
yeah.
the friends and young and dumb. Yes.
Absolutely. So, that, like we've discussed, peer pressure. We've
yes.
mentioned that, and we know it's difficult because everybody's doing it, but you have to be the smarter one, not the young and dumb one, but the smarter one who knows that it's not necessarily good for you and that you need to absolutely take another route.
Yep. Yep. Encourage your friends that this is
Absolutely.
not the best route to go, even if you see someone smoking, and understand that sometimes you may need to distance yourself out of that group that you're with if that's what's going on and you don't want to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Just to not get the mindset that this is okay, my friends are doing it, you know, if I want to hang out with them, they're doing, you know, this is what I have to do. But understand that peer pressure can be overcome.
Or that it's cool. It's not
Yeah.
cool.
It's
not cool at all.
We're letting you know today it's not cool.
It's not cool at all.
And also when we started smoking, because I think we're all within probably the same time frame. But our parents were smokers also.
Yeah.
You know, so it was you didn't just see it in school; you saw it at home also. I mean,
But I didn't.
aunts and uncles and
Nobody
nephews.
smoked in my house.
Really?
either.
That was
No
unusual
wine.
then, cause
So, but this was the generation when there were television ads,
Yeah.
commercials,
Exactly.
magazine ads everywhere.
it was
Smoking
promoted heavily. yes.
heavy promotions. Now the commercials you see are quit smoking commercials, but when you guys were smoking, and I remember even still when I was growing up, I saw the Camel commercial and things like that, and so it was heavily targeted. And I think
Billboards, everything.
now they found a slicker way to target without, because I know there are regulations on commercials now, but
Yeah.
so it's interesting that they're all similar starts because
And in
everybody thought it was
movies.
cool.
They
Absolutely.
smoked in movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how long were you guys each a cigarette smoker?
I smoked about 8 or 9 years.
8 or 9 years?
Total.
Okay.
It's about 7.
Okay.
20.
20 years. Well, look,
A lot of variety here.
The senior here.
yes.
It's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay. You're a quitter today. You are a
That's
quitter.
right.
Yes.
That's
You
what
are a
counts.
quitter.
10 years strong.
There you go. Absolutely.
Good.
And how long have you been? So it's been 7 years, it's been 9, and then we have the variety of the 20. So tell us, what made you decide that you wanted to quit smoking all those years ago?
Well, I had a 2-year-old daughter, and I walked in one day, and she was sitting in the living room, and she was sitting there with my cigarettes in her hand, and a pack of them, and they were scattered around her. She had some laying in the seat, 1 in her mouth, 2 in her hand, and it was a shock,
Yeah.
you know.
I
and,
bet.
I can imagine.
And we all know children are the great imitators, but that's when it was really brought home to me, and I decided that if I did not want her smoking, I could not smoke in front of her. So,
Absolutely.
That is eye-opening. It makes you think. I have a 2-year-old at home myself now, and he does some things that I don't want him to do, but he sees mommy or daddy doing it, and I'm like, no, stop. So I can only imagine what you went through when you saw that, and I can definitely relate to you and understand that. I know a lot of parents might have children at home, and they don't want these habits to go on into generation to generation. So thank you for sharing that with us.
What about Griselda?
Now, my daughter was 2 also,
Okay.
but she was diagnosed with asthma. So medically, it needed to stop.
It just needed to be done, and
Yes.
we appreciate that because I know you were able to do that, make that decision for your child, and we do know that again, smoking is an addiction, and it is hard for some people to make that determination and to decide to quit, even though they know someone in the house medically needs to or does not need to be around smoking. It's still hard to make that decision. Some may opt to go outside. Some may opt still, I just can't quit. I can't do it. So that's awesome that you were able to just then and there decide, that's it. So that's really good. What about you, Deborah?
I just couldn't do it anymore.
Interesting.
It got too limiting. You can't smoke here. You can't smoke there. I didn't smoke in my house. You could not smoke in my car. And I stood around and I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need it. And $6, $4, $3, I couldn't do it.
Absolutely. There's always the money
it's
involved.
expensive.
That's-
That's a very expensive habit,
It's very
yes.
expensive now. It's almost $8 to $9. What is it? Almost $10 for a pack
Wow.
of cigarettes now.
That's
Yes.
unbelievable.
It's ridiculous.
So, now how did you quit smoking? I know we talked about some people use pills and some people use patches and medications. Were there any specific methods that helped you quit, or did you guys go Strong
turkey.
cold turkey.
Cold turkey.
Cold turkey, huh?
I think all of our strong women in here today went cold turkey. But that's
Cold turkey,
okay.
yes.
But that's okay. If you ladies knew what you knew now, with all the options that are out there, such as classes and medications, and do you think that would have been an easier way for you to quit, or do you think you still would have went cold turkey? Would you have gotten help?
I think so. I think so. Talking with people, engaging, sharing, it helps.
That's good. Yep.
Just,
No, I wouldn't have got
you
it.
don't think so?
No, because I knew what I was doing when I started.
Yeah.
You know,
And so
I knew what I was going to do when I stopped. So I wouldn't have got help.
And that's good to hear that,
Yeah.
because there are people out there who, again, these are our strong cold turkey ladies here. We're able to do it, but there are some people out there who don't have that level of discipline and determination,
Yes.
and that's why we are here. So as you see here, just on this panel of 3, some people would use the resources and some may find it better to just go strong and do it by themselves. Whatever works for you, as long as you quit.
Yes, that's the
That's,
thing.
that's what we're worried about. We
Exactly.
want to make sure that you are quitting tobacco use.
Yes, no matter how you do it, we support either way. That's why it's multiple ways and options. We support either way, but we're always here to help if help is wanted.
So we know, Deborah, that you said, you knew what you were doing and you knew that you were going to quit. So I imagine, was that an easy decision for you?
It was.
It was?
It was.
Well, what about you ladies? Was it easy to quit, or was it a little bit more difficult than you anticipated or expected?
Well, for me, it wasn't hard, because I guess I got such a shock from seeing my daughter
Yeah, once
smoking
you make up your mind.
that it was like instantly, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Okay.
And so it wasn't even an option to
Think about it.
think about it.
it.
I was just like, no, this is not good. I'm not doing this anymore. So it wasn't hard.
Okay, and Griselda?
It wasn't hard, but I just feel blessed that I was able to put them down like that.
Good.
Because otherwise, I would have needed help.
Yeah.
And at that time, we didn't have the resources.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so I do know, I'm just going to add one other story in here, because I know you guys are so strong. You guys are just capable and disciplined and determined. But I do know that we have another lady out there who's actually in our community health department. So we
Yes.
appreciate her for sharing her story with us. She was a smoker. She started at 16 because everybody else was doing it. And she smoked for 9 years. And then one day she just decided to quit. She put them down. She didn't use any pills. Again, another cold turkey person here. And she quit for 3 years. And then she got tempted with just one cigarette.
Yep.
Just that one. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But just a reminder that that one cigarette can pull you back in, because that one cigarette still has the nicotine in it. And so she went back to smoking for 5 more years before she finally quit again and was done, and now she's been done for several years. And so, we appreciate her story, because it shows that, you will
Relapse.
relapse,
You
or
can.
you can relapse. And if you do, you can still quit. It's not the end of the world.
Yep.
It's part of the process. And I think,
So, well, we want to just pick your brain, ladies, about the times now versus the times back then.
Absolutely.
Like Lauren mentioned a little while ago, when back in the day there were ads on TV promoting smoking. This is what to do. This is cool. You would see the father and daughter, or father and son, sitting on lap, and it was just normal for the daughter to be there with him smoking. Let's pick up the pace and come forward into times today, and our ads on TV are all like, no, don't smoke near your kids. Don't smoke anywhere. Don't smoke. Just don't do it. Don't target. The companies are targeting people. They're targeting our children in schools. They're making things candy flavored and all this other stuff. Looking back on what you did back then, what you know now versus what you knew back then, would you have started to smoke at all still, if this information was available back then?
Not at all, I don't think. When I smoked, I was just doing it with my friends. I had no clue of what I was doing. I was just doing it, being, like you said, young and dumb.
I don't think that I don't think that I would have, because like she said, back then we knew that it wasn't good for us, but the seriousness of it,
Didn't know.
you didn't know back then,
Absolutely.
right? And now I would have to say no, I would not start.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I probably still would have done it, because It's not going to hurt me. I'm going to be okay.
Absolutely. And there are people.
I don't smoke it every day. I don't smoke all day long, you know.
I hear people say
But
that.
yeah,
There are a lot of people out there with that mindset,
mindset.
that think, you know, it's not going to happen to me, or it's not going to happen to my family members, or it's not as bad as they say. They're just saying that to drum up controversy, whatever it may be. And, you know, I'm really grateful that we have such differing opinions and perspectives.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to know, basically, what would you, at this point, knowing what you know, being successful quitters, there are people out there watching who are still smoking, who are trying to make the decision. What would you tell them right now? What would your
advice be?
You have to reprogram your thought process.
Yes.
You can't think the same. You can't go to the same places. It's just like rehab, you know. You just, anytime I thought I might have wanted a cigarette, I just replace that thought with a reason why I don't need to have this cigarette. And once you get into that mind frame and you keep doing it, it's just a process, and you don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
That's a good.
And the step that was made watching this live feed, that's a major step.
That's absolutely. And
That's
we remind our viewers of that every time.
Yeah.
If they're sticking with us now and still watching, this is the contemplation stage. You've already passed the first stage of change. So you should be proud of yourselves for just making it this far.
And we thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We're very proud and grateful for that.
And also, don't beat yourself up if you start, if you stop,
That's the best one.
and start again, because it's very few people can just go cold turkey and never do it again. You know, you might stop and for 6 months this time, and then next time you stop for it. But it takes a minute. It doesn't happen overnight. So, but you can't beat yourself up. You know, you just pick yourself up and say, okay, I'll do better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Or next week.
Or next week, yeah. Or the week after, yeah.
Just stay determined.
Yeah.
Stay determined.
And one day you will quit for good. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
ladies,
guys.
for sharing your story.
Very much.
We really appreciate it, and we just hope that these ladies served as a light of hope, just to let you know that you can do it. We all have different walks of life sitting here. We all have different stories. They come from different backgrounds, but just understand that they all took that understanding or just had something happen in their life to understand that this isn't for me and this is not what I need to do. It's not good for my health, and I'm better off without it. And just allow them to be your kind of jumpstart.
Absolutely.
Your voice to understand that it could have been a lot worse. We could have been here interviewing someone who's had negative effects from smoking and results from it. So we're glad to thank you for sharing your stories with us today.
Absolutely. And all the stories that we've heard, even the ones in the shout outs, they were still positive stories. And so we were gonna follow up with some encouragement, but I feel like what they provided us today, there's nothing we could say that would be any better than that.
Or we haven't already said it.
Or we haven't already said.
Repeat it.
Absolutely. So again, this is our last Facebook live session on smoking cessation. However, we are starting classes here at the University of Maryland Medical Center, and they will be in 2 locations on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on Tuesdays, it will be here at the main campus, which is 22 South Green Street. Or you can take the classes on Wednesdays, which is going to be at our Community Health Education Center, which we call the CHEC. It's located at 821 North Utah Street.
Yes, or Linden Avenue. It's in the professional building of the Midtown Hospital on the Midtown campus of University of Maryland Medical Center.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let me just give you just a little bit of information. Of course, you can always call our 1-800 number, which we have on our Kicking the Habit website. You can always send us an email at bewell@umm.edu. That's BEWELL at umm.edu. So the classes on Tuesdays are in the middle of the day if your lunch hour, 12 to 1. And the classes at the CHEC are the evening classes on Wednesday evenings from 5:30 to 6:30. And the first Tuesday class starts July 11th, and the first Wednesday class starts July 12th. They are 4-session classes, and so we're just going to get you out in 1 month, and hopefully that'll be what it needs to get you jump-started in your journey to quit smoking. And again, any questions, leave them in the comment section. Any concerns about the classes, whatever it may be. Asante, do you have any?
And you can also visit us on our website, again, umm.edu/kickthehabit, and we have all of the information listed there if you don't catch it here on the Facebook Live and you don't want to go back today. But going forward, we just want to mention that Yes, this is our last smoking cessation Facebook. We've done our 6 months up to this point. We've enjoyed it so much.
Yes, especially working with the Baltimore City Health Department.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, you guys were wonderful, and thank you for all the support. We also want to thank our director, Ann Williams, of the Community Health Improvement Department for all of her support, as well as Mary Ellen Simon, our Community Outreach Manager in the Health Department. Thank you for everything and helping us get to this point.
Absolutely. While we're throwing out our thank yous, let's thank Ms. Hannah Brown, our
Yes.
videographer.
You
who's
might
always-
never see her. Yeah,
You don't see her, but we couldn't do it without her.
Yeah, she's behind the scene. Thank you to Chris and Alexandra, everyone from communications, community health, marketing department who has helped us during these past 6 months to make Facebook so successful.
Absolutely.
Yes, but don't worry.
We'll be back.
We'll be back next month. We'll be back every month after that, the same time, same place.
Absolutely.
We'll be back to talk about a topic going on for that month. Like Lauren mentioned, October is usually surrounded around breast cancer, December, AIDS awareness, and different things. And if you have any interesting topics that you would like to hear more information about, please leave them in the comments section, and we will definitely get back to you and try to present or talk about it or send you information personally about it.
Absolutely. So
All right.
thank you guys so much. Thank you, ladies. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next month.
Bye.
Bye.